views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Open, the one and only show bringing the best of the Bronx, New York City, and the world straight to you. I'm your host, Bobby C., filling in for Rena Valentine this morning. Let's take a look at what's coming up on today's show. Leading off the show, we'll explore an exhibit by an artist using recycled material to make her art. Then we'll find out about how Concrete Plant Park is celebrating It's My Park Day. After that, we'll learn about a fitness expo providing free training and fitness sessions for Bronxites. Later on in the show, I will give you the latest headlines in the world of sports. And finally, our Open Artist Spotlight features a singer-songwriter born in Russia who grew up in Australia and has made her way to the Big Apple to pursue her music aspirations. So sit back and relax. All this and more is coming your way because now we are officially open. So no cafe con leche this morning, Arena, but I just wanted you to know Flama Blanca is filling in quite nicely. I knew you would really appreciate that. Hello and welcome to Open. I'm your host, Bobby C. We're always reminding you to get social with us online. Tweet us and follow us on Instagram at BronxNet TV or like us on Facebook at Open BronxNet Television. Although she spent most of her career in broadcast, our first guest has since retired and took to her latest venture as an artist. Please welcome Ardina Seward to the show. Ardina, how are you?
I am great. I am great this morning.
Amazing.
And I want to correct, retired. Retired doesn't mean stopping working. Stopping working. Retired means retreading. So you have to change your mission.
So you and I got a chance to talk a little bit before we came on this morning, and you've had a fascinating career. I know you're living in Riverdale these days, and again, we talk a little bit about being retired, but you're doing many big things. But first, before we get to the art that you brought with us here today, I wanted to get a little bit of a flashback to your career in journalism. Tell us about basically your fascinating history as a camerawoman with ABC Television.
Well, I spent many, many years in news. I was a photojournalist, and I covered the gamut from presidents to children being born to homicides. And it was a very tough but rewarding career. It taught me a lot of skills. I think that one of the most rewarding things that we covered was Crime Stoppers. And we had a huge success rate as far as getting witnesses who were reluctant to come forward, who came forward, gave information to the police, and we were able to solve crimes.
I think many Bronxites would remember that from the buses and stuff like that, the signs that would go on the side for Crime Stoppers.
Wonderful, but there's a downside to that because you end up doing a lot of, I would say, for lack of a better word, negative photography. And even though it's useful in many ways, it's depressing. I mean, you cover homicides, you cover fires, and a friend of mine quipped one day, he said, listen, don't complain because they make our money on other people's tragedies. And he was right. And I think towards the end of my career, I wanted to do something a little more uplifting, a little more positive, that instead of making people cry, I wanted to make people laugh. I wanted to make people smile.
Well, you've faced many challenges in your life. You've been a pioneer, really, in the industry. What have been some of those challenges that have come across your way?
Well, I was the first African-American photojournalist in the history of news. And when I started the job, the men had to get used to me as opposed to my getting used to the men. There were no ladies' rooms at all. And when I had my first child, there was no maternity leave for women because there had never been any female camera people
before.
So they had to rewrite the maternity insurance, the maternity time off rules because it had never happened to them before. I mean, there were small things such as when you sit around the crew room, the men would get embarrassed when they swore, and then they sort of were resenting the fact that they had to make an exception for me, that since I was in the crew room, there was a female in their presence. But you got used to it. You had to make accommodations, such as flak jackets. I mean, I had to wear a flak jacket when I was pregnant because I worked until 10 days before my first child was born. And it became a little awkward having to put this flak jacket over your belly, but that's how it was. You had to do it.
You bring up Crime Stoppers, but what was the most memorable event that you covered?
I covered presidents. I covered the birth of, I actually covered children being born, but I think my most memorable story was a young woman who was in Williamsburg. Her name was Gladys Pena. And Gladys had called the newsroom because she had killed her boyfriend's mother. Wow. I mean, her mother's boyfriend, I should say, on Christmas Eve. And she wanted to turn herself in. She was 14 years old. So they sent me out to Williamsburg by myself in this small van. We had small vans then. And she was going to surrender herself, and she wanted us to take her to the precinct so she would be treated fairly. I get out to Williamsburg, and I sat, and then a man came out of this kind of rundown building, and he said, "Are you ABC News, Eyewitness News?" I said, "Yes." So he said, "Well, I'll be back in a minute." So there was this long pause, and I thought, oh my God, am I going to get shot here or what? So I sat and I waited, and about 10 minutes later, this tiny, tiny girl comes out. I was expecting somebody who was huge. She was all of 4'11", maybe 5 feet. And she said, "I'm Gladys." And I said, then she got into the van, and I said, "I need the gun." So
wow.
We waited another few minutes, and her assistant, her aide, brings out the gun in a brown paper bag. So I had to call my assignment desk, and I said, "Look, I have this gun in this bag. So what would you like me to do with the gun?" They said, "Well, wait, we're going to send a courier to pick it up." And they sent a courier who happened to be a policeman, and he took it, and he was going to take it down to the DA's office. And I had to drive her to the precinct.
Amazing
and
story. She
sat in the back of the car, in the back of the truck, and she cried. And to make a long story short, eventually she was acquitted of the crime.
Well, I mean, you've lived a lifetime already, but now you get a chance to kind of transition in your life. And, you know, obviously today we really brought you here to talk more about the art, but such an amazing story. Tell us a little bit about the art. I mean, United Elements is a unique exhibit that's using recycled materials, and it's on display at an Irish pub in Riverdale where you live.
An eclectic Irish pub called An Bíl Bacht, which gave me the opportunity to present the artwork. And here it is. This is a portion of what is on exhibit, but it's all made from recycled materials. That's a wheel that I found. And
I love racing, so this is perfect.
So that is perfect. And it actually turns. But it's just an example to show you what we discard still has purpose, and it still has use. And it's analogous to a lot of things in life. We discard emotions, we discard people, we discard things, but they still have value. It's just a matter of switching your perception around of what is garbage and what is not garbage.
How did you get into creating this art?
It's a good question. You know, I honestly don't know that there was an exact moment, but I think it just came from a vision of being tired of seeing stuff thrown out. And it probably accelerated when I was working at ABC, because the crew lounge was in the near the mechanics bay. And the mechanic was always working on truck parts and throwing stuff out. And I would say, "This is great. What is this?" "Well, this is a muffler. This is from brakes." I said, "Well, let me have it, and I can make something out of it."
All your amazing photos we've been displaying on the show this morning, too. And I love this piece as well.
Oh, thank you. This is a can that was crushed. We see these cans in the street all the time. People run over them. You take it, you paint it. This is a strainer a tea strainer. You paint it, and this is kind of a
Taking
recycled.
advantage of everything in the house.
Everything, because it still has use. It can still be. It can still be.
So is that why you use recycled materials? Basically, just wanting to kind of take advantage of things that may no longer be perceived of as having use?
Yes, I think it's also to shift people's vision about what is garbage. Now, this is a test for you.
Okay.
This is. Everybody see this paper cup, drinking cup? Now take this cup and follow the fold.
Follow the fold.
Right, just follow the fold.
Okay, close.
Ah, there it is. Now what do you have in your hand? You've got a sailboat.
Sailboat.
Voila.
Art.
That's art.
Thank you, Ardina, for being on the show. Really tremendous work.
Okay, and you can see the show. Can I put in a...
Yeah, of course. You can check out Ardina's work on display through the end of August, as you were saying.
September 1st at Anbielbacht
Okay.
Cafe, which is 445 West 238.
8th Street in the Bronx.
Eclectic pub. Has music, art, and great people, great food, great drinks.
Thank you so much for taking your time out to come on the show with us.
You're welcome.
Really
Thank
great
you for
stuff.
having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're taking a break, but coming up, we'll learn about how you can become more involved in your local parks.
Morning, Gary. We are GetSchooled.com. You want a college education, don't you? Gary, financial aid forms. Biology homework, G. Picking a college, man. You and us go together like tacos and Tuesday.
And I love tacos.
Well, Thomas, you've got pre-diabetes. But with more exercise and a change in diet, it can be reversed.
I've tried exercising. It just makes me hungry for bacon.
I love bacon, too. And who really likes to exercise?
Not me.
Me neither.
Nobody. So we're good?
What? Oh, you still have pre-diabetes. Big time.
Hello and welcome back to Open. Don't forget to get social with us. Tweet us at BronxNet TV and like us on Facebook at Open BronxNet Television. On Saturday, August 26th, hop on board Swale, a floating forest on top of a barge in the Bronx River, for It's My Park Day. Different activities are scheduled for throughout the day to engage the community, to give back to their local parks. Joining us now, please welcome Curator and Program Director at Swale, Amanda McDonald Crowley, along with Senior Outreach Coordinator at Partnership for Parks, Linda Bonilla. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Thank
It's
you
our
for having
pleasure.
us.
Great to meet you guys.
Gorgeous to meet you too.
Always good that you get to have the sports guy kind of talk about It's My
bit of
Park
Green
Day, right?
spaces,
A
yeah.
bit of art and green space, yeah.
So Amanda, can you tell us a little bit about the program and what makes it so unique?
Yeah. So Swale is an art project by Mary Mattingly, who'll also be joining us on Swale tomorrow. She's actually flying in right at the moment. She's probably just got on a plane. It's a public art project, but it's also a floating food forest. And at the moment, we're docked on the Bronx River at Concrete Plant Park. It's an artwork that is also a provocation to help us think differently about how food exists in our cities, what it might look like if we could grow food in public spaces.
Amazing.
That's currently not legal, so we took that idea to the waterways, because the waterways are in some ways our last true commons. or that's how Mary describes it. So yeah, we're on the water, but having great conversations about what it might look like if public parks also grew food.
Well, that leads me to my next question. Why the shipping barge? Would that be the reason?
That would be exactly the reason. Yeah, when Mary actually was in Concrete Plant Park on another project she worked on several years ago, and people were saying, well, why don't we grow food in our public parks? And she discovered it wasn't currently legal to do that in New York. Legislation has changed in some cities in America, and in fact, the Parks Department have already made some steps to use Concrete Plant Park to beta test that idea. So we're working also with the Parks Department, with Bronx River Alliance, with Youth Ministries for Peace and Justice, and a lot of local organisations to also see what it might look like in the park just gradually. But at the moment, people can come on board Swale, and our peaches are ripe this weekend. I can see that, so I'm very excited for that.
Well, since I'm slimmer these days, I eat a lot of fruits and vegetables. Tell us a little bit more about the fruits and veggies that are on this project.
Yeah. Well, we use permaculture principles in the way that we plant, which means that instead of seeing rows of vegetables, everything's mixed like a food forest. And so it's much more like foraging for food. We do have a lot of fruit trees on board. We've got about 9 apple trees on board, I think it is. Yes. We have persimmon, we have peaches, we have plums. We also grow a lot of berries. We've got strawberries and raspberries.
Big variety.
Big variety.
Huge variety.
And it's all scattered with a lot of herbs and medicinal plants too. So really it's like foraging.
So now with the partnership, Linda, what is It's My Park Day?
Sure. Well, the Swale is actually their grantee of Partnerships for Parks, which is a public-private program within New York City Parks and the City Parks Foundation. And as the senior OC, I covered Community Boards 2, 7, 8, 9. The Swale, it's year 2 of the Swale docked at Concrete Plant Park. And because they've made such an impact last year, it literally extended the park. Concrete Plant Park, for people that don't know it, familiar, it's right off the 6 train coming uptown off of Whitlock. And all you see is these factory structures or these concrete structures. That's actually the park itself. And now with the Swale docked, it's extended it into like a green space. And it offers, It's My Park Day is a chance for community members and Bronxites from all districts to come and help activate and amplify this space. It'll be a 1 to 7, an event. We'll be doing like traditional cleanups with garbage, and then as well complementing with the programs that the Swale has on board that really offers an invitation to practice foraging and greening and continuing that trend of foraging and parks. Concrete Plant Park is a paradigm with this foodway initiative, and I feel that if it goes well, we can also stop seeing the food deserts that we currently experience in many of the neighborhoods throughout the Bronx.
Well, a great location, and it seems like the partnership is really working well together. I mean, talk more about the success that you guys have had so far.
Oh, sure. Well, being year 2, the Swale has a fan. It's a great collaboration and a coalition of community partners such as the Point CDC, Youth Ministries for Peace and Justice, the Bronx River Alliance, and with their programming, as well as Partnerships of Parks programming, we offer a hybrid of a non-traditional, whereas Concrete Plant Park was seen as just a place to fry and just sit and fry because there's literally hardly any shade, but now it's being converted into a place to have public programming, activities like Shape Up, movie nights, foraging, as well as canoeing from one part of the Bronx River to the other, from Concrete Plant to Hunts Point Riverside to Shoelace. It's just an amazing, amazing activation of this green space.
And tomorrow, I'm going to be doing a bit of seed saving, and one of our Swale collaborators, Kat, is going to be doing some drawing workshops with me. We've got Bronx artist Sahara Briscoe coming out to do a community weaving project.
So many things going on.
Lucia Hernandez, who actually makes honey in the Bronx in Hunts Point, is going to be bringing some of her honey by. So yeah, it'll be a really exciting day of
community collaboration,
activity, and
cleanups.
Combined with,
what I always like to ask when we have community people come on the show, what is the most gratifying aspect of working with a project like this for both of you?
I think breaking the traditional mold of what a park and open space can be to locals. I mean, they don't have to travel downtown. It's right there. They could just walk across the street, take a bus, take the train. There are many, myriad parks in the Bronx that have uniqueness, but Concrete Plant just happens to have that extra neatness because of the swale being docked and all the programming that's being produced to activate and sustain and build a group.
And absolutely, for me, it's seeing how people then begin to activate their own parks. One of the most exciting things for me last weekend was young people coming on board and picking fruits and vegetables. I actually had one young woman come on board and specifically ask for a daylily flower because that's what she wanted to eat. Now, I didn't even know until last year that a daylily flower was an edible flower, and here I've got 8-year-olds in the Bronx asking after it.
Yes.
You guys have certainly really engaged the people of the borough, which is very exciting.
Thank you.
So before we let you go again, just plug when and where the event is taking place. One more time.
Sure, it's going to happen tomorrow, rain or shine. Actually, I see only sun in the forecast. 1 p.m. to 7 p.m. at Concrete Plant Park off the 6 train line at Whitlock. Westchester Avenue in Whitlock.
Tremendous. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Once again, be sure to come out on Saturday, August 26th for It's My Park Day from 1 to 7 at Concrete Plant Park, located along the Bronx River between Westchester Avenue and Bruckner Boulevard. Thank you so much for coming on the show again.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
We'll see you tomorrow.
Yes,
see you tomorrow. I hope so.
Coming up, we will sit down with the founder of Team DeMarco Fitness and learn about their upcoming fitness expo. So stay tuned. More Open coming back after this. That's really tremendous. Awesome. Just, awesome stuff.
And I can't change, even if I try.
We are neighbors and best friends.
I love my sister.
My heart doesn't see race.
Love is love.
Our family is no less than any other family.
Love is kind. Love is patient.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Welcome back to Open, everyone. Let's take a look at a youth talent contest audition hosted by Mind Builders for their upcoming talent show. Check this out.
Show up and show out as the youth audition for the Mind Builders talent show.
We had some really amazing young people come out. They were singers, we had dancers.
Marilyn's niece, Ara Main, participates in vocal lessons that Mind Builders offers.
She's been singing for so many years. She started on her own, and my sister actually sang when she was her age as well, so I don't know if it's something that you inherit or something genetic.
Seeing audition signs while walking down the street, Varick thought it was a great idea to audition.
I just always sang when I was younger, and so Just recently, I started singing in front of people.
Mind Builders will hold their next audition Wednesday, August 30th from 3 to 7. They will kick off their open house with their youth talent show September 16th, and you don't want to miss it. For more information, go to mindbuilders.org. For BronxNet, Tatiana Parrish.
Thank you, Tatiana Parrish, for the story. Team DeMarco Fitness and their trainers are committed to helping others achieve their goals through exercise. On Saturday, August 26th, they will be hosting a fitness expo, which will provide the community the opportunity to receive free training and fitness information sessions. Joining us now to share more, please welcome the founder and chief executive officer, DeMarco Rivera.
How you doing, sir?
How are you?
Good,
Great to
good,
see you.
good.
I can tell by the working out that things are going well for you.
Better. Every day is better for me.
So, you know, why want to start Team DeMarco Fitness, aside from being in shape yourself, of course?
Well, you know what? Team DeMarco Fitness actually been a movement of mine. Started out training, I want to say about 8 years ago.
Okay.
Been training for over 30 years, so I wasn't new to the sport, but I never trained anyone. Got into the industry. It kind of found me. You know, I wasn't really looking for it. Needed a job at the time. Things wasn't working out what I was doing currently, and I moved forward to fitness. You know, it kind of was a blessing for me, and I just took that blessing and ran with it. Now I'm just running with my talent right now.
You really transformed the lives of thousands of different people. I mean, who were some of the trainers that you work with in accomplishing your goals?
Well, there's a lot of trainers. I'll be here all day, but I want to just kind of give thanks to Adrian, Keena, Nico, Glenn, Anwar, Kojo, Lou, Lydia, Ebony. Then I have another young lady is actually doing a fitness show tomorrow. Julia, she's a first new trainer that's getting ready to come up on board. So I want to give thanks to them. They definitely been really supportive of, you know, making this dream work for me and coming together as a team.
Terrific.
Yeah.
You know, here at BronxNet, we're definitely dedicated to healthy lifestyles. I mean, we promote it so much with our shows and our segments, and obviously having you on too. I mean, why is it so important these days, especially for Bronxites to live a healthier lifestyle?
Well, the thing is, there's a lot of fast food restaurants that's open up in the Bronx. You know, right now, currently, and I don't want to get this number, but I'm kind of close. We got like maybe 58 McDonald's that's in the Bronx, over 68 Dunkin' Donuts in the Bronx, but you know, we got more fast foods than hospitals, and a lot of our people are going to the hospital from, you know, obesity, high blood pressure, and no one is really making a change. And you know, I guess, you know, the excitement of, you know, open up a new business, these businesses come to our community and make a lot of money, but no one is giving back to health. I never saw Dunkin' Donuts doing a free boot camp. I never saw McDonald's or Burger King out there have their employees of giving something free or giving back. So everything is just a money maker. We want to change the way that we look at that. You know, so I'm into making change. And right now, you know, we hitting the Bronx really hard, born and raised from the Bronx, and we need to make a change. We need to come together, bridge the gap. And the only way we're going to do this is if we actually get the community involved. So I reached out to all my trainers that, you know, that own gyms that want to be involved, and we just actually came together and said, hey, you know what, it's not about our brand, you know, it's about, you know, the myth is, how can we live a better life? And that always been something that people just try to figure out day in, but we lost that. You know, coming up, you know, my grandmother, you know, lived to 80-something years old. Now people are having heart attacks at 40, and young people are dying more rapidly every single day. And you have to really ask, you know, what is it? I mean, we're supposed to live a better life, right? Things done changed, and it's really about the health information and where we getting this health information. I don't know who's doing their job, but it's time for us to do ours. You know?
I'm sure these are things that a lot of people just don't even think about. You know, I know for me, I mentioned it a little bit earlier, I was much heavier. It took me a long time to kind of get back on track, and a lot of it had to do with being dedicated every day in terms of what I was eating and making exercise a regular part of my lifestyle.
Mm-hmm. You know what? It is a change, right? But the change starts with you. And what happens is, what's your future look like? You know, a lot of times people always say, you know, what's the beginning and the end? And, you know, your future start out great, right? We're young, we want to do all these great things. And then when we get older, we get kind of like clustered with all these other things that, you know, we start doing. Life, you know, life in general, but then our surroundings. You know, what's surrounded that? You know, I've been around a lot of athletes, so I stayed around them athletes, and today I can say thank you because I didn't know, you know, that was going to be a changing point, you know, in my life right now, reaching, you know, in my 40s. I got grandkids now. You know, when I walk around, people say, hey, you got grandkids. Yeah, but it was because who I was around. So I think we need to pick and choose who we're going to be around, and then we can kind of look at where our future is going to be going moving forward.
I've always said I think the hardest thing is starting, and then, you know, maybe it's tough to stick with it, but at the same time, I think once people get into the habit of working with someone that's going to push them a little bit, but also, again, taking the proper steps with nutrition, they start to see results, they feel better, and they realize that they're achieving their goals, which is just such an amazing thing.
And you're right about that. You know, I have a client who started his own business. His name is Ray Rivera. We should be related. He came to us, Team DeMarco Fitness. He lost 125 pounds, had diabetes, high blood pressure, was spending about $500 a month with his doctors going back and forth. And this young man really came and taught change to me. And one thing he said to me, and I said, hey, Ray, you know what, you want to lose weight, let's get it done. He said, DeMarco, let's try to do this. Let's try to control our weight. And right now he got a nutrient company that's coming out in September. We're going to bridge that. We're going to partner up. He want to give out back. Yeah, he want to give back to the Bronx. And again, when I look at him saying you lost 125 pounds, it kind of like you a new person, right? And now, so now you start thinking different. This guy has no medications. And we see that going around, and even in the young school system, but someone that could come back and say, hey, you know what? I'm 45, I'm in my 40s, and I'm making it again. You know what? The change of what I used to look like, now I'm not no more. How can we save other people? So again, it's really all about just networking and getting the information out.
So more importantly, what can people expect to see at the Fitness Expo?
Well, what we're going to do is we're bringing out all our trainers. We're going to have some music out there. We're going to give away some free, you know, snacks, banana, oranges, apples, some water. We're going to have our trainers doing some workouts out there. We're going to have a lot of literature where you can sign up. You know, we own a gym, but we're going to be giving 2 months free. You know, no questions asked. You're going to come, you're going to work out, we're going to keep your BMI down, we're going to keep your weight for you. We're going to be like your doctor, but this time it's going to be free. There's no copay that you're going to be like, hey, I need to pay this large copay and I need to come back. No, you're going to be able to come there and we're going to just have fun. And we're going to broaden our family into fitness, and I think it's important.
So this healthy lifestyle starts tomorrow.
Start tomorrow.
Plug it again, when and where?
It's at Brady Park from 10 to 5. That's located in the Bronx. If you're not familiar with Brady Park, it's right off of Bronxdale Avenue, right across the street from Staples under the 2 train.
Awesome stuff.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Appreciate you.
Again, be sure to check out their Fitness Expo on Saturday, August the 26th from noon to 4 at Brady's Playground located on 2222 Bronx Park East. And for more information, you can visit teamdemarcofitness.com. Don't go anywhere. This week's Sports Roundup is coming up next.
Wow, these are really good.
You act surprised. Practice makes perfect.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who don't need perfection. They need you.
Behold, the angry giant. Behold, the angry giant. Behold, the angry giant. Behold, the angry giant.
It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad
today.
Begin our look at sports on the baseball diamond, where the Yankees are fighters in the pennant race in the month of August. Well, not just fighting for a playoff spot, but literally fighting. The Yanks and Tigers engaged in 3 bench-clearing incidents in the same game Thursday afternoon, 8 ejections in total. Worst part for the Bronx Bombers in Detroit, they also lost 10-6. Even worse, they may lose the hot-hitting Gary Sanchez to suspension. Sanchez has belted 11 homers this month and gave the Pinstripers plenty to celebrate until Tigers star Miguel Cabrera and backup Yankee catcher Austin Romine exchanged punches. Miggy was hit by a pitch, and Romine defended himself after the two exchanged words. Sanchez was part of what happened next. The Yanks are 4.5 back in the American League East, but lead the wild card by 3.5. They begin a 10-game homestand tonight in the Bronx, welcoming Seattle to the big ballpark. Tonight is Star Wars night at the stadium. Fans won't want to miss Aroldis Chapman bobblehead on Sunday either. Log on to Yankees.com for more info. And fans, don't be alarmed when you tune in to see the Yanks this weekend. It's MLB Players Weekend, and the team, for the first time, as previously mentioned here on the show, will be without their pinstripes. The Yanks haven't worn home jerseys without pinstripes in more than a century. The cool jerseys will also have names and nicknames on the back. Times are a-changing even on the baseball diamond. But perhaps not for the Mets, who continue to get hit by the injury bug. Standout Michael Conforto, an all-star this season, swung damn hard yesterday, so hard he dislocated his shoulder. He could be done for the season. It's been a long, hard road for the Mets in 2017. They lost 3-2 Thursday and are at Washington this weekend. The Mets also have essentially gutted their team of all of the veterans, sending Curtis Granderson to the LA Dodgers. The 36-year-old joins the best team in baseball. And despite a low batting average in 6 games in LA, the Grandy man has already connected on 3 home runs, including one in the team's latest victory, the Dodgers' 90th of the season. It comes at the earliest point in the season by date or games played in franchise history. They became only the 12th team since 1900 to win 90 games or more in their first 126 games of a season, and only the 3rd to get there by August 25th, joining the 1998 New York Yankees and the 2001 Seattle Mariners. We shift gears and turn our attention to auto racing, where the action this past weekend in Long Pond, PA, gave new meaning to life in the fast lane. Talk about powering to the front. Penske's Will Power found victory lane at Pocono for the 2nd straight year. He overcame numerous obstacles to get to the front in the ABC Supply 500 at Pocono Raceway, holding off league points leader and teammate Joseph Newgarden to win the Verizon IndyCar Series race.
Seriously means a lot. I mean, I love racing on ovals. To come back and win it again in a very different way this year it was a crazy race, exciting for me, but yeah, it feels fantastic to be back to do back-to-back.
The 36-year-old Australian defeated Newgarden by 0.5268 of a second to become the first IndyCar driver to post back-to-back wins on the 3-turn oval in the event's 24-race history.
That's the beauty of the 500 milers. You can go to the back with 60 to go and go to the front again. You know, especially if you're on a little different fuel strategy and you're fast, you can get right back to the front. So I think a lot of it's credit to Will and his team, but I also think that's the way 500 miles race. If you're fast, you can go from the back to the front.
Lost in the buzz was another brilliant race from sophomore driver Alexander Rossi, who took home his 2nd podium in the past 3 races with a 3rd-place finish.
And I had a smile on my face the whole race. I mean, it's rare that you don't driving Indy cars, especially the tracks as awesome as this. So, you know, I had fun for the entire race, and anytime you're leading, there's some satisfaction.
Designed by the 1959 and 1962 Indy 500 winner Roger Ward, Pocono Raceway has a unique design. Each turn is modeled after turns at 3 different tracks. Turn 1, which has a 14-degree banking, was modeled after the now defunct Trenton Speedway. Turn 2, also known as the Tunnel Turn, is like Indianapolis Motor Speedway, 9-degree banking. And Turn 3, 6-degree banking, is similar to the Milwaukee Mile. It could be said to be a tri-oval, but the turns are much more severe than those of a more typical tri-oval such as Daytona, and the track is really nearly a triangle. So cool. IndyCar will be in Madison, Illinois this weekend. 3 races left on the schedule, including Watkins Glen in 2 weeks. We will have an expanded look at Pocono on our next Sports NYC, as well as an insider look at the tires that make champions in IndyCar. This will be a big weekend in boxing and the MMA world, with Mayweather and McGregor set for their long-anticipated showdown in Las Vegas. A champion will be crowned. More on that in the C-list. Closer to home, one boxer in New York has set his sights on being a champion too. They call him the Young God. Here's more with Junior Yonan.
Junior Yonan, the Young God. I'm a super middleweight professional fighter. I first started boxing when I was about 3 or 4 years old, and what drew me into boxing is that, my father did it. I fell in love with it at a young age. My father definitely is the biggest part of my success because, he's trained me since I was a baby. I didn't go out and play with my friends. I was in the gym all the time, and growing up in the gym was tough because I was always the youngest, so I would always have to spar with the older guys. But it was very beneficial because I learned a lot from being around everybody that was older than me and being in that atmosphere. My first real fight was 8 years old. It was in Rochester, New York. It was the state silver gloves. And I lost, but I bounced back, a couple months later, I won my first fight, and it was history from there. Getting ready for a fight is very strict. Gotta eat right, gotta sleep early, can't go out, can't eat what I want. That helps me a lot. I bust my butt in the gym. I study a lot. I watch Andre Ward, I watch Roy Jones. I'm a boxing fan. I think what drives me is just the hate for losing. My last fight was my toughest so far. My opponents always try to get in my head because they know, he's young. He definitely, pushed me to bite down and win the fight. On that card in Vegas, it was an amazing experience, and it brought my confidence up. I definitely feel like there's some pressure on me. That's what makes people, go harder. That pressure should drive you. I love being on a big stage. I love, feeling like my back's against the wall. And signing to Rock Nation, you get a little buzz. It's amazing. Every fighter dreams about fighting on the biggest card of the year. To be a part of something like that is, it's a dream come true. Just keep pushing forward. It's a long journey. It's a roller coaster. But it's fun.
Great job by camera/editor Jorge Gomez. Expect to see more from Junior in the very near future. Don't expect to see more from UFC star Jon Jones, though. Jones beat Daniel Cormier at UFC 214 to claim the UFC light heavyweight championship, but now has tested positive once again for steroids. He will likely be stripped of his belt for a second time. Jones, arguably in the conversation for greatest MMA fighter of all time, has previously tested positive for roids and other drugs like cocaine. The UFC announced Tuesday that Jones tested positive for a banned substance after being tested July 28th, following his weigh-in ahead of UFC 214. Sad news there. In MLS soccer, NYCFC and the Red Bulls meet tonight in New Jersey at Red Bull Arena. NYCFC won the last meeting 3-2. Those games have been classic for the most part. NYCFC is in second place in the league standings. The Red Bulls are in fifth. From the gridiron, the Giants are 0-2 in preseason football. Star Odell Beckham Jr. twisted his ankle last time out and could miss the season opener in Dallas. OBJ is receiving laser treatment on the ankle to expedite the healing process. Could be an issue for him and Big Blue. The Jets are 1-1 in the preseason, although that never really seems to matter. But for Gangrene and the G-Men, Saturday night's matchup at MetLife Stadium may have more juice than most preseason games. The two will play each other, and East Rutherford, that game gets rolling at 7 p.m. Former Jet star Joe Klecko will have to wait at least another year for induction into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. The senior committee bypassed Joe and selected two other senior finalists, including Packers legend Jerry Kramer this week. I still expect to see the Jet great in Canton someday. You may see Anquan Bolden in Canton someday, too. After signing with the Buffalo Bills this offseason, the star wide receiver decided to call it quits before the preseason was up. Bolden was Robin to Batman at his height in Arizona, teaming with Larry Fitzgerald for a memorable Super Bowl run. The Boston Celtics are looking to make a memorable NBA Finals run this year. They made a blockbuster deal with rival Cleveland earlier this week. Isaiah Thomas, two others, and the Brooklyn Nets unprotected 2018 first-rounder to the Cavs for Kyrie Irving. It was some haul for Irving, considering that the Cavs get a pick, the exceptional Thomas, and Jay Crowder, but Thomas is coming off a bad hip injury. I was more surprised that the Celtics would trade a guy that played the day after his sister was tragically killed. Boston has remade essentially its entire roster. Should be fun when Boston and Cleveland, the East Finals participants, square off on opening night in the NBA. Mark your calendars, that's October the 17th. Newest Brooklyn Net guard D'Angelo Russell has a chip on his shoulder, and he's going to try to put it to good use during his first season in the BK. He has predicted playoffs for the team. I want teams to hate us, Russell said Thursday at the Nets summer basketball camp, according to reports. We've struggled over the last few years in Brooklyn. Teams are used to coming in and taking nights off. I just want to rebuild and make it a place where people come and say, all right, we got the crowd against us. It's New York. Russell added that he likes how the Nets are positioned after acquiring several players who figure to be motivated after they were traded to Brooklyn this summer. And on a final sports roundup note, BronxNet will be motivated for some bragging rights this Sunday, August 27th, against Latino sports in our annual basketball extravaganza. Come out for the 23rd annual Celebrity Basketball Family Day. Those are the headlines. We hit the C-list for that fearless Mayweather-McGregor prediction I promised you. Saturday night, we get answers. Pretty boy Floyd Mayweather is 49-0 and arguably the greatest of all time, joining a conversation that includes the likes of Muhammad Ali, Joe Louis, and Rocky Marciano, whose perfect 49-0 record he will be looking to top. There's no doubt about Floyd's dominance over the sport. My concern for Floyd, despite facing a fighter that has never been a professional boxer, is his age. I understand he's not a typical 40-year-old, but given Conor McGregor's height advantage, reach advantage, and his age, he's 29, I think he has a better shot than most people think. I think he has a puncher's chance. McGregor figures to be 15 to 20 pounds heavier than Mayweather on fight night after getting down to the 154-pound limit for Friday's weigh-in. McGregor, who will have a 2-inch reach advantage, is arguably the best knockout artist in the UFC. He was a 2-belt champion in the UFC, but of course, the question is whether or not he'll be able to touch Floyd, who is notoriously known for being the best defensive boxer, maybe of all time. The 8-ounce gloves the two agreed on, I believe, will help Conor more than Mayweather. More bets have been placed on Conor in Las Vegas, but in the end, more money has been laid down on Mayweather, the logical choice given his record and dominance over the sport. Nonetheless, I think McGregor is the most unconventional fighter we have ever seen. He's left-handed, which should give Floyd fits. And if somehow McGregor can hit Floyd, I think he will hurt him. I wouldn't be surprised if something crazy happens and we see a rematch. But after plenty of thought on the topic, I'm still convinced that McGregor is going to shock the world and beat Mayweather on Saturday night. The main card gets going at 9 p.m. on pay-per-view. Chime in on social media. Let us know who you think is going to win the big fight. More Open after this.
Did you know kids who play outdoors have healthier lungs?
Totally. I did. Did you know that boys that play with dolls make better husbands?
My son has lots of dolls.
But did you know terry cloth diapers breathe better? I did.
It's totally true.
Oh, yeah.
Did you know that strollers have the right of way on a sidewalk? Yes.
Yep, I did. Did you guys
Did you know that kids who eat breakfast have higher GPAs?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. That's actually what I was going to say.
Did you know babies should never touch silver? It's really bad for them.
I knew that.
Did you guys know that statistically friendly kids have more friends?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's obvious.
Did you know most people think they're using the right car seat for their kid, but they're not?
Parents who really know it all know for sure that their child is in the right seat at the right age and size. Visit safercar.gov/the right seat to make sure your child is protected.
I'm putting that on my blog.
I just put it in mine.
Wow, these are really good.
You act surprised.
One, two, three.
Practice makes perfect.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who don't need perfection. They need you.
7, 8, 9, 10.
Behold
13,
the
14,
angry giant.
15, 16.
Behold the angry giant.
How much time is there now?
Behold the angry giant. Behold the angry giant.
It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Welcome back, everyone. It's now time for this week's Open Artist Spotlight.
The Open Artist Spotlight is made possible in part with public funds from the Bronx Council on the Arts through the New York State Council on the Arts Decentralization Program.
This week's Spotlight shines on a singer-songwriter whose unconventional style and sounds plays tribute to her Russian roots while also lending a more whimsical reflection of her Australian upbringing. Here to perform her new single, Beautiful Faces, please welcome to the Open Artist stage, Katya.
So far away from your star. Oh, whispering the night, they never stole the morning light, but you stopped trying, that's your flaw. No, that's not it at all. I didn't mean to have that thought. It's just my size far from yours. You look elegant naked, you're so sophisticated, your heart's in warm. I don't wanna feel this, I don't know what the deal is, but I know my star burns so far away from your star. Oh, whispering the night, you never stole the morning light, but you stopped trying, that's your flaw. No, that's not it at all. I didn't mean to have that thought. It's just my star is far from yours. Oh, your beautiful faces. Oh, your beautiful faces. Oh, your my star burns so far away from your star. Oh, whispering the night, who never stole the morning light, but you stopped trying, that's your flaw. No, that's not it at all. I didn't mean to have that thought. It's just my star is far from yours. Oh, whispering the night, who never stole the morning light, but you stopped trying, that's your flaw. No, that's not it at all. I didn't mean to have that thought. It's just my star is far from yours. Oh, whispering the night, lies far from yours.
Tremendous job, Katia and Tom on guitar. Great job today on the show.
Thank you.
You know, when we led off the show, because your name is so like Katia, I was going to say artiste. I don't know if I said it good, but I wanted to give it a little guster there.
That's good.
So, you guys here on the show today, you get a chance to kind of bring this energy and a lot of, again, we talk about unconventional music to some degree. How much has your heritage played a big role in what you're doing right now?
Oh, I think a massive role, because I suppose when you're a 5, 6, 7-year-old kid and you listen to music, that's the stuff that seeps into your subconscious and unwillingly comes out in your music. And so a lot of my stuff is actually quite dark and sort of pays tribute to some of the folk melodies that I heard growing up in the Soviet Union. So maybe not so much in this song, but certainly in the next song that we're going to perform later, definitely a lot of Russian
And
melodies.
Australia too, or no?
Yeah, well, I moved to Australia when I was 9, so at that point I think my musical taste had already been established in many ways. But I discovered so many other, I discovered the Beatles only after I moved to Australia. So I think now those Western bands have, I suppose, informed a lot of my writing, but I guess it's a combination of both, yeah.
2 more quick questions.
Yeah.
We're running out of time. We want to hear you one more time,
Yeah,
too.
cool.
What made you want to come to New York City? And tell us a little more about the single, too, Beautiful Faces.
Yeah, well, look, I went to a meditation retreat for 10 days, and this thought just came to me that I had to move to New York, so I did. And in terms of
It's a good thought.
Yeah, it's a good thought. And in terms of Beautiful Faces, this was a co-write with my really good friend Harry Hall, and I visited him in Southeast Asia last year, and we got together for 10 days and we wrote the song.
Tremendous stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming on, Tom.
Thank you for
as
having
well.
us.
So for more on Katia, be sure to check out her website, katia.com. That is your show today. Thank you for all of our guests for joining us. And to our viewers, of course, for tuning in. Don't forget, if you missed any part of the show, you can check out the recablecast tonight and 24 hours a day at BronxNet.tv. Once again, I'm Flama Blanca, Bobby C. And for all of us here at Open, enjoy the rest of your Friday and have a great weekend. Katia will take us out.
Try to imagine there's a bird in your care. She fits on the palm of your hand. Small as a toy and it's easy to break her, but she won't understand your command. And she can't tell you what she knows. She can't show you where she goes each morning as she flies away. Silver bird, silver bird, silver bird. Silver bird, silver bird, silver bird. I wish you'd stay. Try to imagine that the bird in your care holds a perfect little song in her chest. You long to hear it, you'll be tempted to force her, but she'll never sing it under duress. But if you force her, if you try, she'll soar into the sky and you won't know if she'll return. Silver bird, silver bird, silver bird. Silver bird, silver bird, silver bird. She's gone.